Darkness stretched across the land, an endless night of sorrow. Egypt was once fertile, its fields golden, its people thriving under the divine rule of a king unlike any other. But now, the crops withered, the rivers ran dry, and the spirits of the dead wandered aimlessly. At the heart of this tale is a god, a king, whose fate was sealed by betrayal, whose body was torn apart, and whose spirit transcended mortality itself. This is the story of Osiris, the god who conquered death. Welcome to Ancient Deities Dossier, where the legends of the past are reborn. In this episode, we journey through the rise, fall, and resurrection of one of the most important gods in Egyptian mythology. A tale of order and chaos, love and treachery, destruction and rebirth. Stay with us as we unfold the legend of Osiris, a story that has shaped mythology, spirituality, and esoteric traditions for thousands of years. Now let us begin. In the beginning, the gods wove the fabric of the world. The sky goddess Nut arched over the earth god Geb, their love so fierce that they had to be torn apart by the air god Shu. But from their divine union came children, destined to rule and shape the fate of Egypt. The firstborn was Osiris, strong, wise, and just. Even as a child, it was clear he was different. He carried the spirit of kingship within him, a divine right to rule. His siblings, however, would each carve out their own destiny. Isis, his devoted sister and later wife, who possessed unmatched magic. Set, his younger brother, restless and consumed by ambition. And Nephthys, the silent one, destined to walk between the realms of life and death. But from the moment of their birth, fate had already written their story. The rivalry between Osiris and Set would shake the heavens and the earth. Osiris grew into a mighty king, ascending the throne of Egypt. His rule was unlike any that had come before. Where once the land was wild, chaotic, and filled with ignorance, he brought knowledge. He taught the people agriculture, showing them how to cultivate wheat and barley, how to work with the Nile instead of fearing its floods. He gave them laws, turning savage tribes into a harmonious kingdom. And alongside him, Isis taught the secrets of medicine, magic, and childbirth, making Egypt flourish under their divine wisdom. For the first time, there was peace and prosperity. Egypt became a beacon of civilization. But for all his wisdom, Osiris did not see the darkness growing in the heart of his brother. Set watched from the shadows. He ruled the deserts, the barren wastelands beyond the Nile, and where Osiris brought order, Set felt only rage. He saw how the people worshipped Osiris, how they celebrated his reign, and within him, envy took root. Was he not also a son of Geb and Nut? Was he not also a god, worthy of the throne? A plan began to form. A plan so deceptive, so ruthless, that it would echo for eternity. One night, Set prepared a magnificent feast in honor of Osiris. The halls were filled with laughter, music, and the scent of roasted meats and spiced wine. But at the center of it all stood a mystical coffin, crafted with exquisite detail, polished with gold, and made to fit only one man. Set, his voice smooth as silk, smiled. "A game," he declared. "Whoever fits into this splendid chest shall have it as a gift." One by one, the guests tried, laughing as they failed. But when Osiris stepped inside, the lid slammed shut. Chains rattled, nails drove into the wood. The laughter turned to gasps as Set's conspirators lifted the coffin and carried it to the Nile. Osiris pounded from within, but it was too late. The coffin plunged into the river, swallowed by the darkness. The king of Egypt was dead. The moment Osiris vanished beneath the waters, the land began to wither. The crops failed. The people mourned their lost king, and Egypt fell into despair. Isis, however, refused to believe he was truly gone. She set out on a desperate search, following the whispers of the wind, the secrets of the stars. She would find her husband. She would bring him back. But Set was not finished. The Nile stretched endlessly, its waters concealing secrets beneath the waves. But Isis, unwavering in her devotion, refused to accept her husband's fate. She traveled across Egypt, questioning the winds, the trees, and the gods themselves. Her journey led her far beyond the lands she knew, to the distant shores of Byblos, a kingdom across the sea. There, she discovered that the coffin of Osiris had been carried by the currents and trapped within the roots of a tamarisk tree. The king of Byblos, unaware of its significance, had cut the tree down and used it as a pillar in his palace. But Isis, disguised as a humble woman, worked her way into the royal court, tending to the queen's children. She bided her time, waiting for the moment to reclaim what was hers. One night, she revealed her true form, a goddess radiant with power. The king, trembling in awe, surrendered the pillar to her. Inside, she found Osiris's body, still encased in the coffin, untouched by decay. But the journey was far from over. She had to bring him home. Isis carried Osiris's body back to Egypt, hiding it deep in the marshes of the delta. She planned to perform the ritual of resurrection, bringing him back to life. But Set, restless, vengeful, discovered her secret. Under the veil of night, he stole into the reeds and tore Osiris from her grasp. His fury was unmatched. If death alone could not stop his brother, then he would make sure there was nothing left to revive. He tore Osiris into 14 pieces, scattering them across the length of Egypt, so that no one, not even Isis, could restore him. The land shook with the violence of his act. The Nile turned red with divine sorrow. Osiris was gone, or so Set believed. Grief could not break Isis. She searched once more. With the help of Nephthys, her sister, she traveled the length of the Nile, gathering each piece of Osiris. In every sacred city, she uncovered another fragment: his arms, his legs, his sacred heart. But one part was missing: the phallus, swallowed by a fish, lost to the waters forever. Undeterred, Isis used her divine magic to recreate it, completing his body. With reverence, she and Nephthys wrapped him in linen, the first mummy, preparing him for the next step, the resurrection. Under the silver glow of the moon, Isis performed the first act of divine magic ever known. She whispered sacred incantations, calling upon the forces of life itself. The stars trembled, the winds ceased, the waters of the Nile rose in answer to her power. Osiris's body stirred. His form, though lifeless, began to glow. And in that moment, for just one night, he lived again. It was in this brief moment of life that Horus was conceived, the son who would one day avenge his father and reclaim Egypt's throne. But Osiris's time in the land of the living had passed. His path now led elsewhere, to a kingdom beneath the earth. Osiris was no longer a god of the living. He descended into the Duat, the underworld, where he would find his true purpose. The spirits of the dead gathered before him, lost and wandering. Before his arrival, the underworld had been a place of chaos, without order, without justice. But Osiris, even in death, was still a king. He established judgment, creating the process that all souls would face. No longer would the afterlife be ruled by darkness. Now, there would be justice. Thus, Osiris became the ruler of the dead, the judge of souls, the final gatekeeper of eternity. In the halls of Ma'at, the dead now faced judgment. Each soul stood before Osiris, Anubis, and Thoth, their hearts placed on the scales of Ma'at. On the other side of the scale lay the feather of truth. If the heart was pure, the scales balanced, and the soul was welcomed into Aru, the field of reeds, where eternal peace awaited. But if the heart was heavy with sin, the scales tipped, and the monstrous Ammit, the devourer, consumed the soul, erasing it from existence. Through this sacred process, Osiris ensured the balance of the universe. While Osiris ruled the underworld, Isis gave birth to Horus, their divine son. She hid him away, deep in the marshes, far from Set's reach. Osiris, seated upon his majestic throne, wrapped in pure linen and crowned with the magnificent Atef crown, judged each soul with fairness and wisdom. His very presence brought harmony to the chaotic afterlife, turning fear into hope, despair into renewal. Thus, Osiris was no longer merely a god, he had become eternal justice itself. Every year during the sacred festivals, Egyptians reenacted his tragic death and triumphant resurrection. They planted seeds in symbolic Osiris beds, miniature gardens of grain that sprouted, symbolizing the god's rebirth and promising that all faithful souls would likewise achieve eternal life after death. Through these rituals, Osiris granted the Egyptians their greatest hope: life everlasting beyond mortal death. Hermetic philosophers and alchemists spoke of Osiris as an archetype of transformation and rebirth. He influenced early Christian theology, appearing in the symbolism of resurrection and eternal life. In medieval and modern times, the story of Osiris profoundly influenced esoteric groups, including Freemasonry, Hermetic orders, and other occult traditions. He became a symbol of spiritual rebirth, a model of overcoming death through wisdom and initiation. Thus, Osiris's influence never truly faded, but continued to live on. Osiris, the king who became the god of the dead, lives on, reigning forever as the ultimate judge, the eternal symbol of hope and the promise of life everlasting. Thank you for joining us on this epic journey into the world of Osiris here on Ancient Deities Dossier. If you loved this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and hit that bell icon so you never miss a future episode. Join our growing community by following us on TikTok and Facebook for updates and to continue the discussion. And if you're able to support our work, consider becoming a patron on Patreon. Your generosity helps us continue bringing these ancient stories to life. The link is in the description. Thank you for watching, and until next time, keep the myths alive through study and the search for truth. This is Ancient Deities Dossier signing off. And as always, seekers of the arcane, stay curious, stay mythical.